some legitimacy to saying that these mines will prevent a certain amount of mobility from the North Koreans trying to invade, and in general that mines serve a certain defensive characteristic on borders, preventing aggressive acts by aggressors. And certainly landmines would thin the ranks of a North Korean invading force. It would make it easier for the United States and South Korea to concentrate their forces around certain killing zones where the opposing North Korean forces have to go because there are landmines in other places of the border. So it might make things a little easier for South Korea and the United States in that case. But there are other things to say that, maybe it's not that important. South Korea's military is way superior to North Korea's. This is in large part because they've been supplied and trained and developed by the United States. In addition, the United States is actually backing South Korea. So in the event that North Korea actually launches any kind of a real attack, without a doubt, they will be obliterated. Now, others say that's probably true, but the question isn't whether or not we can obliterate the North Korean military, it's at what cost. So don't landmines save some American lives and South Korean lives because they thinned the ranks and etc. of the North Korean invading force? Well, maybe there's some truth to that. And it's also true, some would say, for example, in World War II, the whole debate about whether or not we should bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima was mainly about not whether or not we could beat Japan, because it was clear that we could in the end. The question was, could we do so at minimal costs? How could we minimize the costs? And the ultimate decision was, well, we can beat them if we just go to war and don't, attack with the bombs. But it would be at such an intolerable cost to Americans and etc. that we can't do that. We have to drop the bombs. So the idea might be similar in North Korea, in which we say, we can win without landmines, but landmines are a very important part of the equation. I think this is not parallel, the Hiroshima-Nagasaki analogy off to landmines, just because landmines are a much smaller part of the equation in North Korea. But in any case, I would say a couple more arguments here in favor of signing the treaty because North Korea and the South Korea-North Korea equation aren't important. There's actually a tunnel network under the DMZ that North Korea has developed that might undermine the effectiveness of the landmines on the DMZ. Another one is that actually signing the treaty itself, this is a pretty important point, actually the U.S. signing the treaty itself isn't going to impact the mines that are already on the ground in the DMZ, because those are actually controlled, owned, sovereign to South Korea, not the United States. So the United States actually signing the treaty isn't going to have to do anything with the mines that are already on the ground in the DMZ. What it might affect are mines that the United States could lay in the event that all-out war broke out. But that's kind of a serious hypothetical and probably not something that should be holding the United States back. In general, the United States military seems always to favor caution in maintaining every tool in the toolbox. They want to make sure that everything that they can possibly do is available to them. So they say, we want to make sure we have this exceptional capacity in the event of a massive scale North Korean invasion, so we can lay them down, etc. But, the United States, I think, needs to try to accept some boundaries, some constraints on its military capacity, recognizing that it might send the right signal to the world internationally to sign this treaty. It would discourage the use of mines in many countries where it will save troops' lives, U.S. citizens' lives potentially, foreign citizens' lives, etc. That's a worthy trade-off, I think, for the hypothetical, tool in the toolbox use that mines might have in the future for the United States. I think this is about all I'm going to cover today, but we have a great article on this. So many more arguments. I've only covered probably like 10% or 25% or something like that. So check it out. It's on debatepedia.org. The article name is, debate: mine ban treaty parentheses, Ottawa Treaty. It's a very, very good resource, as always. Have a look. I'm Brooks Lindsay, the founder of Debatepedia.org. I'll be back next week with another one of these little pro-con breakdowns. Take care.